Thank you, Mr. Dean. Mr. T.J. Smith, could you lead us in the invocation, please, sir?
I'll be happy to. Let us bow our heads in prayer, please. Father God, we come once again with bowed heads and humble hearts just to say thank you for this blessed opportunity, oh God, that you've given us once again to assemble ourselves at this place that you provided. We thank you, oh God, for the proceeding of this meeting that we're about to undertake. And we pray, oh God, that everything that we say and do will be pleasing in your eyesight. For in the end of it all, we'll be so very careful to give you all the praise, all the honor, and all the glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Before we sit down, if you don't mind, today is October the 1st, and that's Breast Cancer Month. And I know a lot of families in St. Tammany around the world, out in the audience and up here on the dais, has had family members that have beat the disease and also lost. So if we don't mind, just take a minute for those that have breast cancer and have beat it and have passed. Terrible disease. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mr. Dean? Mr. Fitzgerald?
Here.
Ms. Casabon?
Here.
Mr. Davis? Ms. Tanner? Mr. Talidano?
Present.
Mr. Lorino?
Here.
Mr. Canulet?
Wouldn't miss it.
Mr. Mike Smith?
Here.
Ms. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Stefanczyk?
Present.
Mr. Bender?
Here.
Mr. Airy?
Here.
And Mr. T.J. Smith? We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, first off, little business here, public comments. A 3-minute time limit is established for each member of the public wishing to speak for or against an item on the agenda. So if you're out there and there's an item on the agenda you're here and you wish to discuss, please put a card in, and when we call you, you have 3 minutes, and we'll move it on. The next thing we have is some special items. Note, the Parish Council will hold a public hearing in council chambers at 6 p.m. on Thursday, November the 5th, 2020, to review the proposed operating and capital improvement budgets prior to adoption. Copies of both proposed budgets will be made available for the public inspection by October the 8th, 2020, at the Parish Council office or online. We have number 1, ordinance calendar number 6490, ordinance to adopt the 2021 operating budget, scheduled to be introduced at the October meeting, which is tonight. I need a motion and a second. Motion by Mr. Stefanczyk, second by Mr. Canulet. No vote is needed. Number 2, ordinance calendar number 6491, ordinance to establish the 2021 through 2025 capital improvement budget and capital assets, scheduled to be introduced at the October 2020 Parish Council meeting tonight. Need a motion and a second. Motion by Mr. Talidano, second by Mr. Dean. Thank you. Tonight, we'll convene the public hearing Board of Review. In accordance with the provisions of LARS 47-1992, the St. Tammany Parish Council hereby convenes in public session as a Board of Review to entertain complaints and/or appeals from any taxpayers aggrieved by an ad valorem assessment levied against his/hers/theirs property. The assessor of St. Tammany Parish has duly advertised notice of this public hearing in accordance with the law. The deadline for receipt of appeals by taxpayers to the Board of Review will be 4:30 p.m. September 28, 2020. If no appeals are logged by this date or appeals are logged but resolved through the Parish Assessor's Office, the time will automatically expire and terminate without the need for the Parish Council to reconvene to so declare. Announcement of public meetings. Notice is hereby given that its meeting to be held on Thursday, November 5th, 2020, at 6 p.m. at the council chamber of the Parish Council Government, 21490 Coop Drive, Mandeville, Louisiana. The Parish Council of the Parish of St. Tammany Parish, State of Louisiana, plans to consider adopting a resolution ordering and calling an election to be held within the Parish of St. Tammany, State of Louisiana, to authorize the renewal of an ad valorem tax. We'll go to presentations. We have a presentation proclamation, St. Tammany Parish Employee of the Month. President Cooper.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the council, and those who are at home watching that couldn't make it to the meeting this evening. The first presentation is Employee of the Month, and joining me here at the podium are Chief Administrative Officer Gina Hayes and Chief Financial Officer Leslie Long. And they are here to accept this proclamation on behalf of Team Tammany, which are all of the employees of St. Tammany Parish government. And let me read that into the record. Whereas I, Michael B. Cooper, took office as parish president on January 13th, 2020, and whereas upon taking office, we added some members to an already wonderful group of employees, and whereas this group quickly united in order to support my endeavors to serve the people of St. Tammany with efficient, effective, and friendly service. And whereas on February 21st, 2020, they quickly and efficiently responded to the needs of St. Tammany Parish citizens with regards to rising of the Pearl River. And whereas on March 13th, 2020, upon being faced with the unprecedented pandemic, COVID-19, they worked to ensure that all paperwork and precautions were taken to respond to a worldwide state of emergency. And whereas on March 23rd, 2020, due to the pandemic, these faithful employees either risked their lives by continuing to work in the field during a stay-at-home order or found a way to work remotely to ensure that government services could continue seamlessly to support the needs of the citizens of St. Tammany. And whereas on June 5th, 2020, these same employees prepared the parish for the threat of Tropical Storm Cristobal. And whereas on August 23rd, 2020, these same employees prepared the parish for the threat of Tropical Storms Marco and Laura. And whereas on September 13th, 2020, our dedicated employees once again prepared the parish for the threat of Tropical Storm Sally. And whereas on September 16th, 2020, these amazing public servants donned masks and returned to their offices to serve the citizens of St. Tammany Parish as we moved into phase 3. And whereas I affectionately and admiringly refer to this talented group of hardworking, dedicated individuals as Team Tammany, and whereas Team Tammany is made up of outstanding employees who perform their duties in an exemplary manner and are dedicated and committed to serving the citizens of St. Tammany. And whereas together they are responsible for all of the duties and functions of ensuring parish government runs smoothly and adheres to all local, state, and federal regulations. And whereas they are hardworking, tenacious, and willing to go above and beyond in order to ensure the welfare of the residents and businesses of our parish, despite floods, pandemics, and tropical storms. Now, therefore, I, Michael B. Cooper, as parish president of the great St. Tammany Parish, do hereby recognize the hard work, dedication, and accomplishments of Team Tammany as Employees of the Month, October 2020, and encourage all citizens to join with me to thank them for their contributions and commitment to St. Tammany Parish. And I know that you all will join with us in acknowledging that as well. So on behalf, this is the proclamation I just read for Team Tammany as Employees of the Month for October 2020. Let's give them a hand, please. We're going to accept them. Come on. Y'all hold the team so you can do your attention. I need to put my mask on. Got to put the mask on, right? All right, thank you. Thank you all for that. Thank you, Team Tammany. And again, I know you agree that our employees are second to none going through these challenging times.
You're right, Mike. One thing I can say, those employees got us through everything. Thank you.
They did. They certainly did. Thank you. My next presentation. My next presentation is to the Special Olympics Louisiana. Our employees choose at the beginning of each year 2 organizations, nonprofits, special organizations to raise money on their own on Gene Day. Every paycheck, employees contribute $2 to a fund, and they choose in advance the organization that they wish to contribute to for 6 months. So the presentation I have this evening is for Special Olympics Louisiana, and they're here to receive a nice check. And again, we want to thank our employees for their dedication and generosity in doing so. So I'm going to ask Mr. John Gazzardo, President CEO of Special Olympics, Susan Murray, and Ms. Helen Robinson to come up for a presentation of the check. And it's a big check. Let me put my mask on. Mr. Gazzardo, Helen. Susan. Thank you, and Susan. On behalf of St. Tammany Parish government, Team Tammany, the employees who, through their generosity, have donated and contributed to this contribution to Special Olympics, we're here to present to you this check, but really, this check that you can use on behalf of St. Tammany Parish government employees. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. Would you like to say something? Would you like to say something, Helen?
Thank you, President Cooper, Missy Broussard, and the staff of St. Tammany Parish government. On behalf of the staff, Special Olympics Louisiana, we all want to say thank you for taking your time and making a donation and raise money for us. We are so privileged and honored to accept this check. Thank y'all so much for what y'all did for us. We love y'all.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to give this to Team Tammany. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mike. That's a wonderful cause there. We're going to skip number 3 and go into number 4, presentation of certificates of recognition to Mr. Tim Fandel and Mr. Brian Snyder for their service to the Board of Zoning Adjustments. Mr. Jimmy Davis, that's Ms. O'Brien. Ms. O'Brien?
Thank you, Chairman. This is a presentation for Mr. Brian Snyder from District 7 in my district, and for all the years on the Board of Adjustments, doing an excellent job, making very tough decisions, as they will continue to do, regardless whether they're on the board or not. But Brian is not a constituent, he's not a voter, he's my friend. And I've been knowing Brian for a long time. He's done a lot of things for this parish, and his wife has also done a lot of things for this parish, as you may all well as know. I'd just like to go ahead and say that we appreciate all the work and due diligence you did on the Board of Adjustment.
Thank you, Jimmy. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Ms. O'Brien.
And ditto for Mr. Tim Vandal. And he's been a wonderful member of the board, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you ended up as chair at the end, right? So they work so very hard. We are so blessed to have these people who step up to do this type of work. And it's not because of the big paycheck either. It's just because they feel that they want to serve our community. He's done an excellent job for so many years, and he and his wife Cindy do a lot in the community also. So I'd like for us to give a round of applause and appreciation for all of their hard work on this board and everything else they do in the community. Okay, y'all want to say a few words?
No.
Mike, you don't want to get in the middle? Okay.
Tim or Brian, does someone want to say anything?
Guys, did you- Tim, you want to say a few words?
Brian, do you want to say anything? Well, thank you. And please tell your lovely wife I said hello. Please tell Jackie hello. And enjoy your retirement, so thank you very much. Mr. Cooper.
Thank you, Chairman
Yes, sir.
Lorino, members of the council, and again, members of the public. This is not on the agenda, but it's a timely matter in which Councilman Lorino, Councilman Talidano, and I have been quite aware of for some time, particularly since the beginning of this term, with regards to the fiscal challenge that we're facing and what steps we'll be taking to review our current finances and revenue streams and our expenses, and how we may be able to curb and even eliminate the fiscal challenge that we have. And through our meetings to this point, we've determined to form a revenue review committee in which members of our community, all of our parish-wide elected officials that represent their own offices that receive money through St. Tammany Parish government, members of the general public, and those representing education, law enforcement, municipalities, the North Shore Business Council, nonprofits, the Home Builders Association, recreation districts, fire districts, and such will be represented on this committee. And there is, of course, a time element involved, and with the formation of this committee, meetings will be held post haste in the next 2, 3, 4 months, whatever time is needed to formulate a plan to move forward to address the challenges that we're facing. So I'm real happy to announce, along with Councilman Lorino and Councilman Talidano, the leadership of the Parish Council, that we recognize the issues that we have, and we plan to address that. And this committee will not be limited to their own review and analysis, but we will be accepting input from the general public as well that wishes to provide recommendations. So with that, I'll ask Chairman if you have anything to say, or Councilman Talidano.
Yes, sir. And thank you, Mike. And, you know, you probably remember the first week after you came into office, Reichert and I, we sat down, had lunch, and we talked about this. And fortunately, we were able to delay what we're looking at possibly into 2022.
That's correct.
And that comes from the hard work of Miss Leslie Long and her team. So this is something that needs to happen. This is something that needs to be totally transparent, as we talked about, and it will be. And I'm looking forward to it. And I want to thank you for sitting down with us and getting this ball rolling, if you might say. And I know it's a tough ball to roll, but it's one that had to start rolling. And I want to thank you. So, Reichert?
Thank you very much. And somewhat echo Mike and Mike's comments, but when we did speak about this, the thing that was important to the three of us, and I think to everybody on this council, is that we have input from the public. And that was the basis for creating this committee in this form. And as President Cooper called off, the members on this committee span a broad range of people in various community organizations, public and private, as well as general citizenry. And we know from that we have good, smart people that have volunteered to serve on this very critical committee to look at the question of where we are going in St. Tammany Parish, because if you look at our budget now, we are calling upon non-reoccurring revenues to sustain our expenses, despite President Cooper and Leslie's great effort, and the council too, in supporting them and providing input to save money where we could. That's being done, but what we have to do is look to the future, and the fairest way to do that is to let people in this public participate in that and give us the benefit of their wisdom, and we welcome that, and we thank you for the opportunity to do so.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions from anybody, any member of the council? Okay. Yes, sir. Mr. Canulette, go ahead, sir.
You need to look beyond just cuts. You need to look at generating revenue.
Right.
That means companies that want to come in here, we don't need to hold them up. We need to get them in, get their tax base in here, especially good companies, good, clean, green companies. Loosen up the strings, cut some of this mess out, and let's generate the money. Let's make the money, then we don't have to worry about cutting the money. So we should include generating money in these talks, not just cutting. That's how you get out of it. You raise money.
Well, just so you know that that's something we looked at, and not only that, it's ultimately, there's no doubt about it, you're going to have to raise money, revenue
Absolutely.
here, either by incoming or by the existing that's here now. And we'll look at all of those issues.
Absolutely.
And
Thank you. And I might add,
Yes,
too, that non-voting members on this revenue committee will be Leslie Long, Chief Financial Officer, Gina Hayes, Chief Administrative Officer, and also help and guidance from the St. Tammany Corp.
Yes, sir.
Chris Massagill and his staff will be facilitating this endeavor.
yes, sir. everyone is important, but the very important one, when I look over there and see Miss Long, she knows it backwards and forwards.
That's correct. She'll be a great asset to us.
She's going to be the access.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
So thank you very much, and I
Thank you.
appreciate it, Mike.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Oh, Jerry, I'm sorry,
No,
sir.
that's okay. So, Mr. Chairman, just for,
Yes, sir.
and I think we on the council realize what the major issue is that's going to be facing this committee. Not limiting it to that, but I think it's important, at least I believe it's important, that we say up front that we have a AA+ bond rating in St. Tammany Parish. I want to be clear that we are solid financially as a parish government. We've been solid financially. We were AA. Our municipal advisor advised us earlier this year. We went to AA+. However, we respect the votes of the public. This revenue that we're absolutely coming to zero reserves on is due to the state mandate that requires every parish in the state of Louisiana, all 64, including us, to provide funds to run the district attorney's office, to run the courthouse, the judges, and to run the jail. That is where our shortfall is. And we've been trying to make cuts to lengthen the amount of time we have to cover it with existing reserves. But we're running out of time. So I just want to be very clear what the big issue is that's going to be facing this committee. And Mr. Cooper, I would also like to ask, I didn't hear our chairman mentioned as a member of this committee.
Yes.
I heard Ms. Gina Hayes, I heard Ms. Leslie, which I appreciate. Is our chairman going to be a member of this committee?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerry. Very well said, and that's the major issue, okay? And the only way we can get around that is have our legislators fight for us up in Baton Rouge to have that change completely, and it should be. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to appointments. A resolution to appoint an alternate member to the St. Tammany Parish Board of Zoning Adjustments. Mr. Jimmy Davis.
Thank you, Chairman Lorena. I'd just like to...
Sorry.
Thank you, Chairman Lorena. I would like to make a recommendation to appoint Mr. Dewey Spees as the alternate member of the St. Tammany Parish Board of Zoning Adjustments. Some people may know Dewey. Dewey's actually Justice of the Peace there in Lacombe, and he's going to be, his termination of the Justice of the Peace ends in this December, and I think will be a vital asset on the Board of Adjustments, in which there is a need.
Yes, sir. So we have a motion by Mr.
I'll have a
Jimmy
motion to
Davis,
appoint Dewey Spees.
a second by Mr. Talidano. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, thank you. Sir, Jim, would you like to come up and say hello? Yes, sir. Come on up.
I've enjoyed working with everybody in St. Tammany Parish. 12 years as a Justice of the Peace. I was on Planning Zoning Board. I was Economic Development. And I've enjoyed it very much. And I'll do my best to do the right thing for this board.
Well, I know you will, and I don't know if your appointment takes effect as soon as we do this, Mr. Hand, but if it does, there's a big meeting next week, and that'll be probably the most interesting
what I
meeting
understand.
that I have ever seen at the Board of Adjustments.
Yes,
So
yes.
you might have stepped into something, but that's
Yeah,
okay. I know you
I
can
hear
handle it.
I hear you. I
Thank
was
you,
going to
sir.
thank you, or maybe I shouldn't thank you. I don't know. But thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. T.J. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
For giving us this space. We just wanted to take this time because of the urgency of the matter. Many of you know, and some of you don't know, that the St. Tammany Parish Louisiana is lagging compared to the rest of the country in its census participation. That's the bad news. The good news is that we have gotten an extension passed yesterday until October the 5th to move ourselves from that embarrassing position to one that is more respectable here in Louisiana. And there's a lot at stake. We want to share with our viewing public a lot of resources, financial resources to the state of Louisiana, to the parish of St. Tammany, and to our local communities as far as our schools, as far as our roads and bridges, and many other public services that we're able to provide, hinges on you going out and completing the census. So we employ each and every one of our citizens here in St. Tammany Parish, if you have not. And those of you who have, urge your neighbors, your friends, your relatives to complete the census. Thank you very much.
Mr. Smith, you're absolutely correct. And Mr. Talidano. Yeah, thank you. Mr. Smith, you're absolutely correct. And if I'm not mistaken, I thought, and I'm probably wrong, but I thought at one of our meetings last month, we heard that St. Tammany was up on the highest, or number 3 or something like that. Am I mistaken about that? We were number 2?
In the state.
And that's where we are now, or did we fall down? Okay. That's what I just wanted to make sure. But everybody needs to get out there. I got you, Ms. O'Brien. And so I just wanted to make sure of that. Ms. O'Brien?
And I want to remind everybody, this is for funding for 10 years. This doesn't change. So if we don't have proper participation, we're going to pay that price for a decade. So please urge your family, friends, neighbors, and everyone to go ahead and fill out the census. I was visiting someone recently, and I saw she had it, and she was getting ready to throw it away. And I was like, no, you have to fill this out. A lot of people don't understand. So don't make assumptions that everyone understands. This was a well-educated businesswoman that was doing that, and I was shocked. So please make an effort to speak to everyone to explain how important this is. Remember, that's for a decade of funding.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And thank you again, Mr. Smith, for bringing that back up. I appreciate it, sir. What I'd like to do now is, before we get into the consent calendar, go to discussions and other matters. The parish the administration put a comprehensive plan together, and what I'd like to do is have Mr. Ross Liner, the Director of Development, come and give us a brief update on this, because prior to it coming out, we didn't know a whole heck of a lot about it. And there was a meeting called, and it was very fast, and some of the council members could not attend that meeting, and I for one. But I think it's important that you lay this out and may have some questions to it. So Ross, would you please introduce yourself and go ahead?
Yeah, Ross Liner, Director of Planning and Development. So just a quick intro.
Sir. Yes, sir.
The current comprehensive plan, New Directions 2025, is the parish's vision for development and redevelopment. It was adopted in 1999. Typical comprehensive plans have a horizon of about 20 years, but best practice for a parish like ours that grows quickly is 5 to 10 years to update. So we're a little bit behind on doing that. The plan 1999 was adopted with a vision, community facilities, critical and sensitive areas, economic development, essential community design, housing, land use, natural hazards, transportation, and implementation elements. So I'm sure all of you on the council are quite familiar with New Directions 2025, but coming in, President Cooper made it a priority, and we're looking to update this process, update this plan. So that's the intro.
And what's the makeup of it, Ross? The makeup of the committee that's going to be
Sure.
working on it?
So we're going to have a robust public participation process. The way that the council can be involved is as much and as little as you would like. The council, and we've done this in the past when I was on the private side, updating comprehensive plans, is a steering committee that is appointed by the council and the parish president. Each council member will have one appointee to the committee. The parish president will have 7, so it'll be a total of 21 committee members. They will be your eyes and ears for this process over 18 months. So that's the makeup.
Okay.
And if you have specific questions, or I can get into, a little bit more over the 18 months, we're looking that the committee would meet 6 to 8 times. But again, once the committee is formed, they'll elect a chairman and a vice chairman, and they can dictate how much and how little they would like to meet based on how the process is going. A particular issue may require an additional meeting or 2. Whatever the committee wants to do, planning and development and our consultants are going to support them wholeheartedly.
Okay. You mentioned just now the consultants. Would you let me know who the consultants are and
Yes.
how they were chosen?
Yes, Escrow Robinson is a professional planning firm out of New Orleans. However, they have offices in Houston, Austin, Minneapolis, and 1 or 2 other offices. Prime, Escrow Robinson, sub-consultant is digital engineering, and sub-consultant is river crossing strategies. Each of them chosen by the prime to submit from the as-needed services list, or the, I forgot exactly what you call it, but.
Preferred list or whatever?
Yeah,
right?
whatever it
You
is.
can be big-
So it was under 350,000, so we put out 3, we chose 3 off the list, asked for proposals, got proposals back, and then they were scored. So that's how the prime was chosen.
Okay, so that's how the prime was chosen.
Yeah, and they selected their own
And
subs.
then that's how the prime chose the
Yes,
subs?
yes.
Did they choose them before they were selected or after they were
Yes,
selected?
before, so they were all submitted together. So each firm, prime firm, had their own team that submitted.
Okay, so.
And then their own price that
right.
was submitted as well.
Okay,
So we received proposals all on the same day, all at the same time, and everybody had their own teams and prices.
gotcha. And was there any other engineering firms that did this before that were on any contract retainer or anything else like that?
Not that
No.
I'm aware of.
Okay, okay.
Then again, I'm new.
No,
so
that's, well, I'm just.
That's my
I'm
qualified
just-
answer.
I'm just asking a few questions. Is there any questions for anyone? Mr. Bender?
Yes, so Mr. Lawner, an approximate cost for this consultant and his subs?
325,000.
About 25,000?
325,000.
325,000?
Yes, sir.
Uh,
They were the
You
cheapest
know-
that came in.
Excuse me?
They were the cheapest that came in.
I understand. Let me say this if I can, Mr. Chairman, and I think everybody that knows me knows that I believe in being very forthright, okay? Hopefully respectful most of the time, sometimes a little bit over the top. But it's important that we have this communication. I received, and my colleagues received this email making us aware of this committee. On a Wednesday afternoon, which would have been 4 days, including the weekend, before the close of our agenda. The press release went out the next morning at about 10:15, and that was a Thursday. And in the press release, our parish president asked, he said he would put his on a list, which I understand, and the council would hopefully put ours on our agenda for our October 1st agenda. Now, I would hope the answer to this is yes. Do you all realize that it's an impossibility to get an email on the afternoon of a Wednesday and have the press release go out on Thursday morning and be able to get 14 of council members' appointments that are qualified people, that are people that are willing to, first of all, give them an opportunity to let us know if they'd like to serve. I now have a couple, maybe 1 or 2 more that would like to serve. To get this done and get it in to the council office on Monday, to put on the October 1st agenda, I say this with no disrespect. It shows a general, complete lack of understanding within the administration that we have an agenda close on Monday, and you're making us aware of this and you're wanting it on our October 1st agenda. And that's going out to the public. As if the public's going to know, well, no problem. They can get it on October 1st. Yeah, let's choose 14 people. Let's get in touch with everybody. Let's tell them what it's about, because that's what it's going to take. And then let's determine how many people in each district want to serve, and maybe even have a little sit down with each person to say, are you going to be fair-minded on the whole process? This is the process, et cetera. We can't do that in 2 working days. That's not possible. To learn $325,000 tonight, I'm not going to ask my colleagues how they feel, but I heard us go, I really thought you said 25,000. So I don't want this to be viewed as a complaint as much as a learning opportunity. We can't get that accomplished that quickly. It's not fair. It sends a message in a press release to the public that, well, not a problem. It's coming out on the 30th, the 29th, the 20th. It's coming out on the 27th of September. Yeah, the council ought to be able to get their people by the 1st of October. Yeah, but that's not the issue. It said on our October 1st agenda. The deadline's the 19th. Excuse me. The deadline was Monday. We had 4 days, including the weekend, that Monday. So I simply want to make the point. This needs to be given consideration. We are not, in my view, and I'm only stating my own view, we are not the tail wagging the dog. And we're not the tail that lets the dog wag us. We are co-equal branches of government, and we need to be treated that way. For all I know, the parish president, and if he does, that's fine, has his 7 already picked before the press release went out. Where's the opportunity for us to name our 14? I think everybody would agree. Thursday and Friday to find out who wants to serve. Just throw a name on there on Monday. Just throw a name out there. Let me go knock on my neighbor's door. Hey, you want to serve? Yeah. Okay. All right, you're on. We've been talking about this since the parish president came in office, and 9 months later, the council's given 2 days, 2 working days advance notice. For future reference, I'm not upset, I'm only making this point. If we're going to try to get things accomplished, we couldn't get that accomplished in 2 working days. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to respond.
I'm back, right?
Duly noted on the timing. I said duly noted on the timing. And then also, as far as the $325,000 goes, I believe the council has 2 opportunities to review contracts during the selection process. Once before we receive them, and I believe once after we receive them. And it's a week timing that we give to the council for review. And then if there are no comments, we go ahead and move forward.
Let's talk about that.
Let me answer that question for you. The answer is you're correct and you're wrong.
Okay.
Okay, you're correct. The council should look at it. The council never looked at it. Okay? If I don't receive it, or Mr. Terry Hand does not receive it, it cannot be disseminated. Okay? Now, I'm not arguing the price or anything like that. I'm just correcting the statement. Okay? I agree with Mr. Bender wholeheartedly. And this is not you, Mr. Liner.
No.
I'm looking well past you. I'm looking at the clock up there. The bottom line is the communication between the administration and the council has been somewhat not, I'm just going to say, hasn't been good at all. I could say something if I wasn't on this, but it has not been good at all. And Mr. Bender's correct. And sometime, and I understand, it's brand new, okay? When I came on here, I didn't know nothing either. And this parish president's coming from Covington, did a great job, and now St. Tammany's a little larger. But bottom line is, sometime we need to know those things Sometimes we need to follow what they say, and if we had it, we could read it, we could look at it. That's why I asked you the question, because people ask me the question, and you know my answer? I don't know. And when I tell them that, I kind of look like a fool, because right there it says chairman. So that's my take on that. Yes, sir, Mr. Bennett.
Mr. Liner and Mr. Parish President, I want you to both understand, this is not personal. No,
Understood.
No. I'm telling you that what I've said is not personal. I said it's in the interest of us improving collectively in how we do things together. So, as the chairman has said, your plan is perfectly good. If it's given to our chairman or our council administrator, who's a full-time employee of the council, just like Ms. Gina is for the parish president administration, and then it's disseminated to us, and I can tell you, Mr. Hand disseminates things and the chairman disseminates things out to us quickly. If it's given to them, then we do have a week. But you guys, just a recommendation, need to look into why didn't it get to us? Because then that week goes away. That's all. It's not personal. It's about us getting better together.
I don't take it personally.
And I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Mann. Any other questions? I'm sorry, Mr. Canulet.
Yeah, so at first, I heard you say, I want to say we pulled this from $50,000. Is that correct? That
Did
was-
not.
I could have sworn I heard you say we got the contractor or the person from a thing, and you mentioned 50,000.
From the as-needed services contract list, which I
Yes.
believe the threshold is 350 or less. So
Okay.
That, for everything, whether it's engineering or planning or, whatever it may be, is 350 and less.
And I guess my issue is this, if we're going to spend that kind of money, we should have an RFP, request for proposal. That's a lot of money, especially right now, when we don't have money to waste. And that's just up front. That's not including what's going to cost us on the back end. If I think this is going to come in and cost us $325,000 and ain't going to cost us a penny more, I don't think anybody believes me. It's probably going to cost us a little bit more. I mean, this is a nice chunk of money when we have no money to be fooling around with to lose. So, plus it's a big deal. It is a big deal to redo the whole parish again, to go look at it. So, I mean, when we do these, please, consider what the task is. And I get you can pick it from the 350,000, but sometimes the task is more important than what the price is. So please
Understood.
consider RFPs.
Thank you, Mr. Canulet. Mr. Stefanski.
Yes, a couple things. One, I wanted to know, first of all, where did you get the money from since it wasn't in last year's budget?
Can Leslie answer?
Hey, Ross, that
not
was
the
the
money
best
person.
answer. I would have done the same thing.
If it's in there, I'd like to know where.
My recollection is that it was budgeted. I recall Gina Campa was here at the time, and so it was under the previous administration, and the funding was in a capital project, and it does not lapse for, 3 years if it's not encumbered or spent, so. But it was
So-
budgeted $400,000 is what I recall.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, and secondly, how did you, how did you determine the people that are going to head your part of the committee? I mean, I'm looking and saying, first of all, I would tell you, I was in charge of New Directions 2025 and ran that all the way through until Kevin Davis became president and he finished it up. The issue that I don't see on this, you've got some names on there that might be good names and all that, but if you're talking about a comprehensive plan for this parish, we ought to have we ought to have more participation in this thing than we have right now at 21. I would tell you that we had over 1,000 people that came and participated in 2025 and brought ideas and, in each section, as you read off the sections, we had those laid out for them, and they went in and worked those issues and put them against there and came out with, at least for that time, was a pretty good plan. I'm not arguing that it shouldn't be updated, because it should. Matter of fact, it's time to do that, and we should be doing that at least every 20 years, which is where we are. So I would hope that we would consider some way of getting a lot more of the community involved than we're getting now.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, please.
So the 21-member steering committee is basically, like I said, your eyes and ears. There would be multi-level of stakeholder involvement. So the 21-member steering committee, like I said, your eyes and ears. They don't approve the plan. They don't recommend to y'all to adopt. It dies, and the consultants haven't done their job. Then right below that, we'll have other stakeholders and committee involvement. So business interest groups, just like y'all named for the financial committee review, same type of situation. We'll have public meetings, we'll have virtual meetings throughout the parish, north, south, east, west. The public participation will be robust for this process. So it'll be there.
Thank you, Steve. Mr. Mike Smith? I'll get you next, Ms. Casavant. Yes, ma'am.
Working? Okay. Okay. You might not be the right person to answer, but maybe somebody at the table there. So we have a revenue committee, advisory committee coming up. Are you anticipating possibly hiring a consultant for them too?
Again, that's not part of my process.
Can anybody at the table answer that?
Mr. Smith, I mentioned earlier in my presentation that St. Tammany Corp. would be helping us facilitate that meeting.
Okay.
With their expertise.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's a totally different, two different initiatives.
Right. I understand it's two different initiatives, but we're not going to get stuck with another $300,000 fee.
No.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Casavant? Oh, wait, hold on one second, Martha. Yeah, I know you can, but I don't want you to.
Yes, I served, I keep saying, I know y'all sick of hearing this, on the planning and zoning, but we were one of the entities because we knew that particular area. Are y'all planning on having the members of the planning and zoning, because it is the people that are in that area and work with that zoning constantly?
They'll be fully engaged.
And we worked on it in part of those subcommittees. So I just want to make sure that they're included in that, or at least a
Absolutely they will.
representative from each one of those areas.
Again, the 21-member steering committee is your representative. They will have many, many, many meetings of subcommittees and stakeholders, and absolutely planning and zoning commission members will be fully engaged.
But the ultimate choice was on the councilman's decision on how they were going to rezone certain areas. I know in my area, it was to keep development down. Mr. Thompson ended up rezoning everything to A1.
So this is not a rezoning process.
Five or A.
But this is not a rezoning process.
It's not.
This is land use.
Yes, it's land use, but my point is that we would be able to decide, the council members for their area.
And that's why I hope you each have an appointee for the steering committee.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Casavant. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Ms. TJ? Oh, I didn't know if you raised your hand or not.
Yeah, I did.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Briefly, not to prolong matters.
Go ahead.
Ross, I understand most of the components, all of the components as you've laid them out. Thank you very much. The piece that I'm inquiring about is, what are we giving the steering committee as a template to base their work on? Will it be the old 2025 master plan?
Yes, sir. So the consultants right now, in very beginning stages of creating a community profile. So they'll be looking at all plans that were either completed, adopted, in draft form over the past 20 years. So they're going to provide the framework. The consultants are going to drive this process, and the steering committee is going to be, well, the consultant's going to be the roadmap, and the committee's going to be the driver. So they'll be providing all of the materials to the steering committee for this process. So I hope that answers your question. So the framework is going to be what's been taking place for the past 20 years, and then the consultants consolidating that into a document called a community profile, and then from there, we just move forward.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Stefancic?
Just a quick question. The list you gave us the other day, which was provided to us, did not have this contract on it, just so you know.
Which list are we talking about? I'm sorry.
Which
list are we talking about?
Well, the one that says all contracts that are going on in St. Tammany Parish.
That may not have been from me. It might have been from maybe Leslie.
It's from the
that was
administration to tell us what's going on in our districts.
Yeah, that's a different subject, Steve.
No, I'm talking about the fact that this wasn't put out to us at all until afterwards.
You mean the comprehensive program?
The comprehensive program should be put to us, given us on that form, and you know, in the meeting the other day when we got a new copy.
Right,
of it.
that's what I'm saying.
And all of the contracts are supposed to be on
Correct.
there. They weren't.
Oh, I got you. So what you're saying, we had that meeting last week, and it's confused, the other day, and it's confused. So what you're saying was the contract was not on the original when this went out to everybody. Okay.
That's right.
I got you. Okay. I understand. Ross, thank you. Before, there's nothing else, but I want to say one thing in closing on this subject, and not to you, to the administration. Things are much better in moving forward, and I understand that, and so I'm very happy about that. So I just want to make sure that's out there also, okay? and we still have some ways to go, but that might be me, but we'll get it. We'll get it squared away. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, and all great questions and concerns. I have not named my 7 members yet. I've confirmed 4. I haven't sent out the letters yet or anything, so I think the intent was not necessarily to have the names for the deadline, to have it on a resolution for the agenda tonight. It's, you know, I know some have already named their members. It's the sooner we get our steering committee members named, the sooner the consultant will be able to start engaging them in the process. So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Okay. Thank you. We'll go to the meeting calendar. We'll go to the consent calendar. Any items not pulled from the consent calendar are automatically approved in whole by one vote. Items pulled from the consent calendar are discussed and voted upon individually. A majority vote of the entire council, 8 votes, is required to adopt the consent calendar. I'll go to the items that we have pulled thus far. And the first one under ordinance for introduction is number 3, ordinance calendar number 6488. Next is number 4, ordinance calendar number 6489. Number 32, ordinance calendar number 6519. We'll go to resolutions. Resolution number 4, CS number C-6338. Number 5, resolution CS number C-6339. Number 6, resolution CS number C-6340. Number 7, resolution CS number C-6341. What's that about? 6335. Okay. And then we have one for 6335. Okay, resolution number 1 will be pulled also. Okay? Mr. T.J. Smith, do you have anything, sir?
I'm gonna give them to you in total. It's 3 of them. Item number 8, number 9, 12, and 13. It's 4 of them.
Okay, 8, 9, 12, and 13.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Okay, so thank you. Mr. Dean?
The budget item with the safe haven issue, is that item 6518 on the ordinance would be introduced?
6518,
Yeah, so that's number 31 I'd like to have pulled.
number 31,
Please.
okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't have that one. Okay, got it. Number 31, ordinance, okay. 6518, have it. Okay, anything else, Mr. Dean? Mr. Talidano?
None, thank you.
Mr. Canulet?
No.
Ms. O'Brien?
Nothing else.
Mr. Stefanski?
No, thank you.
Mr. Bender?
No, sir?
Ms. Caswine? Mr. Mike Smith?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jimmy Davis?
No, sir.
Mr. Jake Airy?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Tanner? None? Thank you, ma'am. Okay. All righty, thank you. Could I have a motion for the passing of all ordinance not vote? Motion by Mr. Bender, second by Mr. Canulet. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Thank you. And we'll go to the first one. Ordinance calendar number 6488. Ordinance authorizing the parish of St. Tammany to proceed with the financing authority and ratifying the parish request to issue its revenue bonds, authorizing the borrowing by the parish of the proceeds from the sale of bonds to finance qualified Go Mesa projects, approving and ratifying the terms of the sale of the bond, authorizing the form and execution of the loan and assignment agreement, and authorizing the form and execution of an agreement for the purchase of the bonds and ancillary financing documents, and otherwise providing with respect thereof. Mr. Cooper, would you like to? Michael?
You want to go first?
Would you like to go first, sir?
Thank you. Mr. Akers and Mr. Ryan were at our agenda review meeting last week and gave those that were present a brief update on this. We have the availability. We're one of 11 parishes that, or one of 13 parishes that have not utilized this method of bonding out revenue that we have coming in to devote and dedicate towards projects that will benefit coastal restoration and other projects in our parish. I asked our bonding attorney and financial consultant to provide us with a plan to sell bonds and to be able to address the projects in our parish in the next 5 years. We are in the process of putting a list together. There's certain criteria that you have to meet in order to use the money for, and we will be putting a list together, as was mentioned last week, to be able to provide to the bond in this effort to get funding. So,
Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask for Mr. Akers to give further information on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, and these are very well, they're very needed at St. Tammany.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Council's very happy that we're moving forward with that. Mr. Akins?
Yes, sir.
You going to do all the talking, or Mr. Ryan's going to talk some?
Neither one of us are going to talk very long, Mr.
Well,
Chairman.
he asked me, I left him alone last time, so I had to say his name, okay? But anyway, you go ahead.
Thank you. Jason Akers with Foley and Udell, your bond counsel. We had a good discussion at Agenda Review. Just as a quick reminder, this is an opportunity to leverage federal funding that's going to come in over a period of another 30 years and use it to do a number of projects here within the parish now, instead of having to accumulate that money over that period of time and not be able to do projects until it comes in. This is something that, as Mr. Cooper mentioned, is being done throughout the Gulf South, and we highly encourage you to take advantage of it yourself. The companion resolutions are 4 and 5 that are associated with that as well.
Yes, sir.
We're happy to answer any questions that you would like, but otherwise, we'll use this resolution to begin the process. Thank you.
Mr. Akers, if I remember correctly, at the agenda review, there was something mentioned, someone mentioned, if you do not use the funds, if you don't use them, you don't pay anything? Maybe that was a different meeting, I don't know.
No.
Is that correct?
Yeah. So
Am I correct or wrong?
you are correct in the sense that
Okay.
once you go through this process,
Okay.
if for some reason the federal government in the future decides not to appropriate this funding,
Okay.
then that is a risk that has been shifted to the bondholders.
Okay.
You still have the funding that you received through the bond proceeds. You do not make payments on these bonds from any other source whatsoever than the Go Mesa funds as they come in. So if those Go Mesa funds don't come in for one reason or another in any federal fiscal year, you don't have an obligation to make a payment from other sources, and it's the bondholders that go without. That's how you shift the risk to the
Okay.
bondholders, and it's a good financial decision for the parish.
Okay. I know I remember something vaguely
You
about that.
got it.
Okay. Mr. Ryan?
I just wanted to echo what President Cooper said, that this is something that's, I think, almost every parish in the state that is eligible to do this has done this already. There may be one or two out there that have not. We represent Calcasieu Parish, which is Lake Charles, and they frankly told us we don't need the money, but thanks. But most of the people see the advantage of going ahead and taking advantage of this and locking this money in now and getting rid of the risk of it going away in the future.
Mr. Ryan, Mr. Bender made a very good point, believe it or not, a little while ago, but is our bond rating still very high? As
It
was
is, and
before?
that's one thing that you touched on, Mr. Talidano touched on at the Agenda Review Committee meeting, that in the event that the Go Mesa money is stopped being appropriated by the federal government and goes away and you don't make payments on these bonds, it in no way impacts your credit rating. And again, as I mentioned at the Agenda Review Committee, Parish President Leighton Ricks from Livingston and I met with Standard & Poor's to make sure that was the case on these types of bonds.
Okay, thank you, sir, appreciate it. Any questions from the council? Mr.
You're
Kenny?
talking about for the Go Mesa bonds,
It's
20 years, 30 years, 10 years?
So it's a weird thing, Chris, and the reason is because there's this thing called turbo redemption, and without starting to sound too geeky, what happens is this. We've estimated that we're going to baseline on what you got this year as our baseline, and this money goes up and down. It won't be the same next year, and it won't be the same the year after that, and it won't be the year the same after that. So if next year you get less, that's all you pay to the bondholders. If in year 3 you get 0, you don't pay them anything. Let's say in year 4 you get double what you got in your baseline year. The procedure is that half of that money goes to prepay bonds and you get the other half. So there's this thing that any extra that you get is going to be split between you and the bondholders to hopefully pay down the bonds faster than the amortization. It's called a turbo redemption, if that makes sense.
Extra house payment, huh?
That's pretty much it. You got a bonus and you're going to take half and spend it, and you're going to take half and pay down your house. That's it.
There it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing no questions, thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Akers, Mr. Ryan, and the other two are similar, so we'll just go through them with no comment on them, okay? Well, thank you all. Have a great night. Nice seeing you again. Thank you.
We need a motion and second.
Okay, I need a motion. Motion by Mr. Canulet, second by Mr. Talidano. Please vote. No vote, I'm sorry. Okay. You left that off there. How am I supposed to survive with that, girl? Okay, thank you. Number 4, ordinance calendar number 6489, ordinance providing for the sale of taxable sales tax, refunding bonding in one or more series of sale tax. Number 3, I need a motion. Motion by Mr. Mike Smith, second by Mr. Jake Airy. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lorino?
Yes, ma'am.
That was on item 6489?
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out that was not the Go Mesa borrowing.
Oh, okay.
And Mr. Akers could
So
speak about this
So
one.
we should go into it, is what you're saying?
I think you'd like an
Okay.
explanation. It's a refunding of a
Okay.
current debt. So the other
Perfect.
one was new money. This one is a refunding of of existing bonds so that we can save interest.
Perfect. We voted on it, but you can go ahead and explain it for me, what I voted on.
I don't know that I can do anything better than Ms. Long did, but.
Well, I was going to say that, but I was giving you a chance.
So very simply, this is an opportunity to take advantage of lower interest rates in the current market and save money as a result. So with your approval of the resolution, the companion resolution is number 6 to this one. With your approval of that resolution, we'll begin the process of approval at the State Bond Commission and then come back to you in the early part of December, your December meeting with final numbers, and you'll have an idea at that point exactly what your savings are.
Thank you. And number 6 was approved in the consent calendar vote. It won't be pulled.
Just to echo on what Mr. Bender said earlier, this is the reason you're able to basically take some debt that you have outstanding now at 3.6% interest and refinance it at what we hope is around 1.6% interest. That's a 2% interest savings, is because of the financial management of the council and the administration and Ms. Long over the years. You have achieved a AA+ bond rating. And if you did not have a AA+ bond rating, you would not be in a situation to save yourself nearly $1 million by refinancing these bonds.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay, we'll go to number 8. Ordinance calendar number 6495, an ordinance amending the official zoning map of St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana to reclassify a certain parcel located on the west side of Industrial Drive, north of Browns Village Road, and east of St. Tammany Avenue, Slidell, in which properties comprise a total of 1.54 acres of land, more or less, from its present I-1 Industrial District to I-2 Industrial District, Ward 9, District 14. Mr. Smith?
Chairman, and we ask that we take all 4 of these items in global.
Sure.
Only just to make a statement, and that statement is primarily for the benefit of residents of 3 subdivisions in District 14, which happens to be one of the most diverse and districts in the parish, both geographically and demographically. And we are talking about a combination here in these 4 ordinances of about 7-point-something acres of industrial use in District 14 that is in a geographically dense area. In other words, they're real close. It's real close to some subdivisions, 3 in particular: Morgan Subdivision East, Morgan Subdivision West, and Slidell Ozone Heights. And so a lot of the people who have taken an interest in those subdivisions about this particular ordinance and what we are doing here, attempting to do here, for COVID reasons and some others, they are not able to attend. But I hear from them. And they this is for the benefit. This statement rather is for the benefit of those people. I just want them to know that we understand, as they do, the intense uses that come along with I-2 in our current zoning classification. And that with that understanding, we are working very closely with the petitioner and the residents to navigate this process in a way that will be beneficial to all parties. And at our next meeting, we hope to have a resolution put together with the petitioner that will satisfy all of those concerns. And with that being said, I'd like to make a motion to introduce.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Smith, and very well said. And I know Mr. Dean will second that. And what we'll do is I have to read each one of them, this said, and we'll just read them into the minutes. But thank you very much. And I'll just read each one of them and then ask you for a motion. Thank you. Number 9, ordinance calendar number 6496, an ordinance amending the official zoning map of St. Tammany Parish to reclassify a certain parcel located on the west side of Industrial Drive, north of Browns Village Road and east of St. Tammany Avenue, Slidell, in which property comprises a total of 1.5 acres of land, more or less, from its present I-1 Industrial District to I-2 Industrial District, Ward 9, District 14. We have a motion by Mr. Smith and a second by Mr. Dean. Thank you. Number 12, ordinance calendar number 6499, an ordinance amending the official zoning map of St. Tammany Parish to reclassify a certain parcel located on the west side of Production Drive, south of J.F. Smith's Avenue, north of Browns Village Road, Slidell, and which properties comprise a total of 2.69 acres of land, more or less, from its present I-1 Industrial District to an I-2 Industrial District, Ward 9, District 14. Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Talidano. Number 13, ordinance calendar number 6500, ordinance amending the official zoning map of St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana to reclassify a certain parcel located on the west side of Industrial Drive, north of Browns Village Road and east of St. Tammany Avenue, Slidell, in which property comprises a total of 1.53 acres of land, more or less, from its I-1 Industrial District to an I-2 Industrial District, Ward 9, District 14. Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Canulet. Thank you. We'll go to number 31, ordinance calendar number 6518, ordinance to amend the 2020 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 38. I think, Mr. Dean, you have the mic, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. May I ask, Mr. Chairman, if Ms. Long could just give me a little bit of a rundown on the thing, then I'd like to make some comments.
Yes, sir. If anybody can, she can.
Yes, sir. This ordinance is to amend the budget to increase the budget for the Safe Haven Training and Education Center by $153,000. And if you review the administrative comment, the budget is currently allocated or budgeted for $740,000. So we have a $500,000 capital outlay grant. Capital outlay grants require a match. You previously budgeted $240,000 to cover that match and cost. Then during this past, I'm not sure how long, but the design has been being done, and we asked before we go out to bid for a statement of probable cost. So the statement of probable cost came in, and we added a contingency to that, and so that's included in the $893,000. And so before we can go out to bid and before capital outlay will approve the plans to go to bid, we have to increase that budget. And what we identified was that we have finished the renovation basically at the CRC or at the quad. And so we have funds available that were budgeted for Safe Haven renovations that we're asking to transfer. So we're going to reduce the Safe Haven renovation budget and increase the Safe Haven Training and Education Center budget for the new building by $153,000.
Okay. So with our match is 243, so we'll have it skin in the game, 390-something thousand?
That's correct.
Okay.
240 from the public health tax, ad valorem tax, and 153 from the Deepwater Horizon funds, settlement funds that we had received.
Okay, so a total of 396 or whatever.
Yes, sir.
My statements, I mean, I've been emails, I've been public meeting, my thoughts on the whole thing. I would seriously like for us to put the brakes on Safe Haven until we have an overall plan for all of the acreage. Because I got a lot of opinions about that. As you all know, I worked out there for about 3.5 years when it was North Lake Behavioral Health. The whole property, like I said over and over and over, the whole property's got a lot of problems. The streets are atrocious, the drainage is atrocious. I noticed we have in the capital improvements $40,000 for a North Lake Behavioral Water Well Control Panel, and I'm sure that is just a pebble in a bucket of the money that can be spent out there, or that should be spent. I know that the CRC has a half of the building that's empty, that got totally gutted, and so they built one half of it for the Crisis Receiving Center. The other part is sitting over there. I don't know, I guess, like I said, without getting into the whole, all of it, I do know that when we jumped into it, it was everybody, Jack Donahue, Pat Bristol, everybody was really, really worried about losing the psych beds. And I remember back in the heyday in the 80s, 70s, everything else, there were about 2,000 patients out there. It got dwindled away, and the state kind of put people here and there as the property deteriorated. And then it wound up about 300 or 400 patients out there. Right now, as we sit, I think it's got about 75, okay, on that 38 acres North Lake Behavioral Health. Just for that one piece. So where I'm going is, I really question whether we need the training and education center. When I asked Mary, when I asked her who's going to be trained, who's going to be educated, what is it? She said, well, maybe we can have nurses do CEUs, continuing education units, doctors, social workers, whatever. I don't think it's needed. I mean, I think if we wanted to do anything, build out that other side of the CRC for some meeting rooms. Why not do that? I mean, and like I said, I'm not going to get off into this, but I'm going to ask so that there are no other surprises. And I do know that back in, March of 2019, we allocated this money, but now we're asking to put up another 153 for, in my opinion, something that is not needed. It's almost as though we have this, just, what's the old saying, just because you can doesn't mean you should. It's all, we got this 100 acres and we just all tickled to death. What can we do with it? Well, we ain't got the money for that. Let's sit down. I did have a conversation with Mary Burkell, back when this other thing was going on about the Cardinal Cove, and never once did this come up, this education and training discussion come up. And it's like these things just kind of keep popping up. And I want to be able to have a plan. Let's look at this campus and let's figure out what we're going to do with it, instead of just kind of a hodgepodge of what it seems to be, a hodgepodge of other things. Now we have that, we talked about this in Cardinal Cove, swapping or either buying from Pelican Park for a I don't even know what. I think group home. I don't know what we would plan on doing, and that's going to be a lot of money. So I worry, and I asked Mary, and I didn't get any answers. I didn't get one answer. When I asked, okay, the expenses, what are going to be the utility? Imagine if you are an employee of a businessman and you go to him, a businesswoman, and you go to them and you say, hey, I got this great idea. I want to build this training and education center. The first thing that guy's going to say, what's it going to cost? And then what's it going to cost us to maintain it? And what's the revenue you're going to get from it? I didn't get one answer, not one answer. You know what they pay when they have like a day's worth of education? Maybe $300. Maybe $300. And that's going to happen maybe once a month. So we're going to have utilities, insurance. Somebody's going to have to run it. Somebody's going to have to Bruce's crowd's going to have to take care of it. It's the maintenance, the utilities, everything else for this place. And I understand we've already allocated some money for it. I just don't believe, I think we need to put the brakes on Safe Haven until we all have a meeting. I will be happy to meet with anybody about that. But where are we going with this and what do we want to do? I know Pat Brister's vision was to rescue that psych hospital, which we did, and then to have a crisis receiving center, which we have, because if you remember, there was a big discussion about the high suicide rate in St. Tammany Parish. I remember that. I was on that board. So, and I'm in the mental health counseling field, so that's why I'm kind of passionate about this. We got to have a reason to do what we're doing. And right now, I don't think that we do. So that's my 2 cents. I'm going to suggest that we not do it, and I know, I'll vote against it when it comes up. Thank you.
Okay. Marty, did you make a motion, or would you like to hear a little more conversation from both sides before you make the motion?
I know other people have some
Yes, sir.
thoughts.
That's what I was thinking. Okay, I'll come back to you. Mr. Canulet, you want to say something, then I'm going to go to Mr.
Yeah,
Jimmy
well,
Davis.
I have a question or two, and then I have a statement. So we found the money this year. Where are you finding it next year? Where is it coming from?
So like you said, the money we're finding this year is for the capital cost for the construction. And Mr. Dean pointed out that there will be operating costs for this building. The budget for the operating costs has not been developed, but that if there were operating costs, right now the operations of the structures out there are funded by the public health ad valorem tax.
Okay. So my comment is this. I work for a pretty good company. They're getting ready to cut about 9,000 jobs. Their first to go is always training. Always training. First is always gets suffered. I'm kind of like Mr. Dean in this. If you really want to do a training type academy or whatever you want to do, it's going to have to make money. It's going to have to stand on its own. That means you're going to have to be able to have to market it to other hospitals, other states, other cities, everywhere. And if we're not prepared to do that, then we don't need to build it. So it's just going to keep costing money and money and money. So we need to have our ducks in a row. And like one question is, well, how many facilities offer this kind of training in this area already? And if they do, what does it cost, and can you do it for what they pay? To just go out and say, hey, we're going to do a training center. That's great if you got unlimited cash. I don't think we have unlimited cash, so we need to make sure that these questions are answered before we just go throwing money at this. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Canulet. Mr. Jimmy Davis, this is in your district, so you, yes, sir. I don't know where it's at, but we'll find it. Or you can use mine.
Thank you, Chairman Lorino. Again, yes, the safe haven is in my district, but this is a St. Tammany project. I mean, just for everybody to be certain of that. I'm having concerns. The council, the previous council, approved the building of this training and educational center. That's a fact. And now you're saying you wish it wasn't going to be built at all? I'm a little concerned with that. If you don't want to give these individuals the $157,000 they need to expand it a little bit, to have more, to have more of a presence, that's fine. But to now talk about not even having it built, I'm a little confused in that. You're going against your own process. And that's what I don't understand. Now, I believe I have Miss Mary out in the audience.
Yes,
Is she out here?
Miss Mary's out.
Miss Mary, could you come up, because I want to ask you some more questions. And as you guys know, I've been relaying a lot of information to everybody about the safe haven. I'm kind of taking it into my breast, I guess. Because I believe there is a concern and a need. So, Miss Mary, if you weren't to receive this $157,000 extension, let's call it.
Yes, sir.
What would you do?
What I would do is we'd have to meet with administration as well as facilities and to decide what next to do with the money. I don't believe, when this was first budgeted, it was based on $160 per square foot, which really isn't very realistic. This building is planned to be 4,000 square feet, so with the current estimate, that's $181 per square foot, which I think is reasonable. I don't think to get what we need out of the facility, we can do that for less than 4,000 square feet. So I believe that would be, I mean, obviously that's administration's final decision, not mine, but I believe we'd be going back to the drawing board with that.
And Ms. Mary, if you were granted this additional funds to be able to build this training center, then you go out to bid.
Correct.
What if the bids are higher than the amount total? Are you going to come back to us?
No, because I know that's not gonna, it wouldn't be worth anybody's time, right? Yeah. And I would, if you wouldn't mind, do you mind if I say just one quick statement? Councilman Dean, I respectfully disagree with some of the things you said. I believe, as far as my recollection, I did mention this in the meeting that we had about Safe Haven. I've been trying to invite you, and I would most definitely love continued conversation with us. What we're doing at Safe Haven is not hodgepodge. There is a plan. There has always been a plan. This project isn't anything new. It's been talked about, as you said, and approved for a very long time. I understand your frustration with Safe Haven, though, Councilman Dean and the rest of the committee. We've had this property for 5 years, and it's a monster. You know, I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of things to it. But guess what? In the next 3 years, I was sitting down with some members, and we were talking about the grant funds that are coming in. It's going to completely change. We have $5 million to help with the stormwater. We will completely address, I think, between design and construction, I was looking at the estimates, it's $3 million the state's going to spend in stormwater management for that campus, as well as dealing with the entrance and wayfinding, dealing with the streets. I have a group of LSU students from the College of Art and Design who are graduate school students who are studying landscape architecture, art, and planning, and they're looking at the campus, and they're coming up with plans to help us visualize and make sure we're getting as many eyes as we can, and I want them to present that to you, because I went and saw them on Monday, and I saw some of their ideas that completely gave me a fresh new perspective. Nothing really different in services, but just a different way of looking at the campus in a whole and looking at some of the things we've been talking about, like the need of a second entrance. Councilman Dean, we also did mention with Cardinal Cove, we are thinking about doing veterans housing. That is the plan, and I will be moving forward with that plan. I think all of us agree that is very much needed in St. Tammany. And people are excited about this project. When I go to Baton Rouge, when I go to Slidell, when I go to Covington, when I talk to people from Orleans Parish and Jefferson Parish, I'm constantly talking and building relationships with all these different organizations. We had a study done in 2014 in St. Tammany called Transforming Behavioral Health System in St. Tammany, done by the Louisiana Public Health Institute with the National Organization on Mental Illness. And they said crisis services was the biggest need. And I had a conversation with them just a few weeks ago, because they're going to be hopefully helping us out with our opioid grant. And they're so excited to see we actually have listened to their recommendations. And we're actually moving forward. These things that we're doing have been in a lot of people in this room and outside of this room have been a part of that and making that plan. And we're just going to continue on that path with evidence-based research, doing what we can do best for the community, providing such a great need here in St. Tammany.
Ms. Mary, another question.
Sure.
One of the other points was that if you have some other available property that you could renovate and do the training, but what is your business plan for the rest of the property that's located next to the CRC?
Absolutely. In the place that we're locating the training, or it's planned to be located, the Training and Education Center, that's what I call the residential area. We have some residential housing there. We have NAMI Day Center. So we're really focusing on recovery type services. That's what we call when we're talking about peer support and continuing recovery from the illness. In the quad buildings, we're focused on clinical services. So things like going to an actual clinical doctor, psychiatrist, those types of services is what we're looking at for the quad buildings, because we think it's best to kind of have zones so that we have like services next to each other.
And do you think by having this training center there, it would provide any other convenience for the parish?
Absolutely. Right now, every time we do a tour or anything else, we're using the St. Dymphna Chapel, which really isn't an appropriate place for us to use that. why it's 4,000 square feet, because we want to get a 50-person training room, with the TV monitors, and so people really truly can come in and do these trainings, like the sheriff's office with their crisis intervention trainings, as well as mental health first aid that they've been doing, our ambulance services. We believe that there's a need. I know facilities gets requests quite often that they cannot meet, because this is basically the room that we have to offer, and we don't want to tie it up for days on end when we have those opportunities. So I do believe this is something we can need. I'm hoping one day on campus we can have Alcoholics Anonymous meetings there at night and different things for different people. It's going to be a multi-use room.
As far as you saying, we're getting calls for possible place. Is Mr. Crouch here?
Yes, he is.
Kind of maybe say a comment about that? Of course, everybody knows Bruce. He's the director of facilities here, and he's the one that gets the calls all the time about being able to rent different places. So, Bruce?
Yes, we get called several times a month from different organizations like DHH, Fountain Blue, or Florida Parishes and DOTD and stuff like that, looking for places to meet. And they all ask about the chambers. Mr. Dean, I believe
Is DHH not going to pay you?
if we put an ordinance in place that forces them, it doesn't allow us to give away anything for free, they have to pay to use it.
Alcoholics Anonymous is not going to pay.
So-
I mean, all this feels good, but is it going to make us go, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Marty, thank you. I thought Mr. Talidano was down there, sorry.
Sir.
All right.
Okay, I still have the floor, so let me, it's funny because I look at the planning and zoning when I had a lot of experience in that and stuff, and we always talk about land use, and we talk about this and that, and it's also, always comes down, do we have a compelling feature to approve something? In this case, I feel we do have a compelling feature to give these individuals the start to go ahead and get this thing started and hopefully to get it completed. With that being said, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'm sorry, but was there a second on that? Okay, Mr. Smith, okay. I'm coming to you, Ms. O'Brien. I got you, Mr. Bender. Yes, ma'am.
First of all, it would be a motion to introduce, right?
Okay, yes, it's just a motion to introduce.
So anyway, I can appreciate the discussion on both sides, but, and I can't take credit for this idea, but someone mentioned to me that perhaps it would be beneficial to do a CEA with Pelican Park. There is a road that dead ends right next to the Catholic Community Center or some sort of Catholic building. I can't remember the exact title. But if you extended that road just a little bit, you'd have access and quick arrival to a number of fabulous buildings. Now, there's no guarantee that Pelican Park would agree to that, but I think it's something that's worth taking a look at. I believe that we don't need to move overly fast. I think it's would be wise of us to ask questions like this to see if a CEA would in fact be available. Certainly the Castine Center is huge, and it has some meeting rooms off on the side. Those gymnasiums are empty most of the time during the day. You could have something that would hold dozens to thousands of people 5 minutes away. So I think there would be a lot of wisdom at least asking questions about that and seeing if that would be an option also.
Thank you, Ms. O'Brien. Mr. Bender?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this, the safe haven as a whole, if we go back to the original thoughts on it, a lot of it was driven by not only our former parish president, God rest his soul, but, our coroner, Dr. Preston, he also ended up $500,000. He has a chief mental health officer that we approved, a psychiatrist. They have their hands full. So we know that we have a behavioral mental health problem in this parish. But we also know that every county and parish in the United States has that same problem, whether it's opioids, whether it's suicide prevention, whatever it might be. People that are bipolar have general just mental health problems. So I think the project is overall very good. Maybe Bruce and Mary, if y'all could come up again, hate to make you run back and forth. Bruce, I know, and you know, we've been here long enough to know that what I'm saying from my perspective is correct. I'm not blowing smoke. You know how to run your department. You run a good department.
Thank you.
So I want you to understand that from my perspective. I think my colleagues too. That's not an issue, okay? And Ms. Mary, I think your heart and brain are all in the right place, okay? Have you all considered trying to provide, and I'm going based upon what I'm hearing from my colleagues, both Mr. Dean on one hand, who makes good points, and Mr. Davis, who on the other hand is also making good points. And I think they both understand, we all understand the business side, because we just discussed a tax revenue. How do we gain more, not tax, but how do we gain more revenue to pay for these three entities that we're mandated to pay for, okay? So, you know, what's big on our minds, I think, is how are we going to pay for things? And that's what I'm hearing, and that's legitimate, okay? So first, are we going to have like Medicaid funding with people that are coming? I mean, what's our funding sources going to be? Not related to repairing the roads, but related to the ongoing monthly cost of doing business, of running an AC in a building, you know, of the electricity and the phones, et cetera. Where's our funding source?
Okay, so Ms. Long is correct. We do have public health millage, but we also do collect rent. Right now, we have two renters, the St. Tammany School Board, as well as Florida Parish's Human Service Authority. That gives us quite a bit of funds to continue with that. So I just want to mention that we also do collect rent, and that's how we continue to look at funding for operations in the future, is to get off that public health millage and to get fully on rent. To be able to do that, we have to attract bigger organizations that have that kind of capital to be able to pay rent. And so part of this is all trying to make this facility more attractive, to bring them on campus, to give them those outside things that they will need to make sure they can operate their business on our campus. And some of that will be through Medicaid patients. We'll be funding actual services that operators provide, as well as private insurance, just like any other healthcare facility.
Okay, so from a business perspective, okay, because I don't think any of us want to be in the business of denying services that are needed, but at the same token, it does no good to be in the business of spending money to try to provide services that we can't afford. And we do have a revenue problem that's facing us, that's draining our reserves. If these reserves weren't being drained because of state mandates, I'm not saying we would just easily pass this, okay? We should be looking at how effectively it can be used. But pertaining to this particular facility, I'm hearing different people need this room, so on and so forth. How are you going to maintain this building as an entity that's costing you money every month?
Absolutely. As part of the Training and Education Center, half of that square footage is going to be for offices. So the person who uses those offices will pay for the utilities and upkeep of the building. But the parish will still continue to own the actual facility itself.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, if I could continue just a little bit, because the next point I'm going to make I think is important. Have you all identified community partners? This is very important to many businesses. We see this being used, I mean, how many people, I understand it in New Orleans Saints, but how many people want to be the sock company of the New Orleans Saints? You know, do we have community partners that they have a vested interest in helping with mental health issues?
Yes, sir, we do. We have our advisory board, which also consists of St. Tammany Parish Hospital, Slidell Memorial, and tonight y'all just added Ochsner as one of our partners on our advisory board. We also have relationship with Covington Behavioral Health as well as Beacon, which is one of our largest inpatient healthcare providers in our state.
Okay. And are they providing you funding, not advisory board help? Are they providing you community partner funding?
As of today, no, I'm not aware of that any of them have committed funding besides the coroner's office and St. Tammany Parish government.
Okay. The last thing I want to say, and this is a general statement, but I have some, thoughts to ring out my own head before we vote next month, because there have been good points made all the way around. We need, and the reason I brought up community partners, those are some big partners that you're referring to. They have vested interest in mental health, okay? We also need strong economic development, okay? We cannot buy and pay for a facility like this without strong economic development, good jobs, good partners that come in and want to be, and I consider good jobs this, a company who wants to come in and partner with us for the betterment of the community that goes beyond the jobs that they can provide. It goes into the type of community that they want to be involved in, okay? And your situation would be a perfect match. But we need to be able to bring in these kinds of economic development. So thank you. I'm going to stop there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I would like to see, a plan that outlines basically what we're going to use this for, how we're going to use it, what money is expected, and what is going to be expected of us for the next 4 or 5 years, and lay it out so that we can take it and see a presentation of it. I agree with Marty that I think that that we're jumping into something, and I'm not sure we're ready to fund it, or we shouldn't be spending the funding on it if we're not going to achieve whatever we feel like should be achieved by this, and whatever our director of that facility feels should be achieved. And and the only way we're going to be able to talk about whether or not it's successful is whether we achieve those goals in the future. And if we don't achieve them, we're going to have another thing on our hands that we're paying for, and people will use or do whatever they want to do, free of charge, and we'll end up paying the bill from now on out. So I'd like to see that presentation, and if I don't see that, I'll probably either ask that this thing be postponed next month, or I'll have to vote against it.
Thank you, Steve. Seeing Mr. Talidano.
Mr. Reno, thank you very much. I want to make sure I understand this. We're talking about, in essentially, a match of funds for, yes, ma'am. Am I correct? You're asking the council to ultimately approve a budget amendment that would include a matching fund, correct?
It's above the matching fund.
Above
What
the match.
you approved last year, I just
got
want to
you.
make sure it's clear. What you approved last year was the match, so this is above that match.
Gotcha. So my question is, if we choose not to do it, or I think what my colleague, Mr. Dean, is saying is, he still has been asking for a plan of action and has not seen a plan of action, nor has he seen a budget. We're not going to lose any grant funds, I presume, if we don't pass this next month? That is to say, we're not going to jeopardize the grant. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All
I
right,
will
so-
say with capital outlay, if you don't continue to use the funds, the state believes it's not a necessity, so they do not continue to grant funds that are in the other priorities.
Okay, I'm not sure what that meant, but what I want to make sure I understand what you said.
I'll tell you later, Rick. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. Look, I understood it in that sense, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
talking about this project.
Yeah, and
This
yeah.
grant, if this matter is delayed for the reasons that Mr. Dean has asked for, to simply, and I don't know why it hasn't been done yet, quite frankly, but for whatever reason it hasn't been, why someone cannot come up with a plan of action and a budget before we entertain this, what you're telling me is we do not lose the grant funds, correct?
Correct.
That's my
And I just want
question.
to make sure, I think I got that email this morning, and I apologize that I wasn't able to get that together for today. I knew it was an introduction, so we had a little bit more breathing time that I could get it to you before we vote. I'm sorry, I wasn't able to with all my other obligations today.
Thank you, Mr. Talidano. Mr. Dean? You go right ahead, sir.
Thank you. Because it bugs me when people go on and on, so I won't go on and on.
I understand. Believe me.
Is there such a thing as a safe haven budget? This is the money we're getting in rent. Is there a safe haven budget?
It's in the budget book. It's completely separate account that Leslie can show
Because it
you.
sounds like we're running a nonprofit, not a parish financed operation.
So yes, sir, Councilman Dean, we have an internal service fund. It is on page 93 of the budget, and it's a complex. And so there are the expenditures of the building. The rent that is received is right at $590,000, and then the interfund charge, which is the subsidy from the public health tax, is right at $700,000. So the only building that have the occupants that are paying rent are in the quad. Florida Parish's Human Services Authority, the St. Tammany Parish School Board has two sections of the quad, I think for a high school program and for a lower school program. And those are the three tenants that are paying rent out there.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Mr. TJ, you wanted to say something, sir?
Yes, sir.
I thought I saw a finger go out.
Yes, I do. And as I sit here and listen intently, not only tonight, but before when this project was being questioned and to death, I will say. As I weigh the benefits, and I look at the ledger as far as the benefits, the benefit versus the liabilities here, the benefits grossly outweigh the liabilities. And the only liability that I'm hearing raised here tonight is, who's going to pay for it? Well, St. Tammany Parish, we always find a way to pay for whatever we want to do. And we're talking about the lives of the very indigent in this parish, which our former parish president had the concern about, to even go and purchase this property, which we had to go find that money, and we found it. And now we have a plan that's being presented to us that makes all the sense in the world. We have vested interest public agencies like the coroner, the 22nd JDC, the school board, and some hospitals. We have vested interest folks saying the same thing, and now we're being asked to just for another $153,000, as I appreciate it, on top of what we already did at the last hearing we had about this. Something else is missing here that I am not hearing. I don't know what it is, as to why we keep objecting to trying to provide a need for the very indigent in this parish. No, we're not running a nonprofit, but we do need to take care of those who need our help. I used to, when I was a teenager, play softball at that very facility. And when I went out there at Mary's invitation a few months ago, I was thoroughly impressed at the presentation that she made, what I saw, and how that facility has managed to exist all of these decades. And now we have an opportunity to move it a little bit further. We need to do this, ladies and gentlemen, and do it now. And stop procrastinating, because lives of very people who cannot help themselves are dependent on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Appreciate it. Seeing no one, I'm going to try to answer your question, what I see. Number one, this project, yes, was Pat's, and she thought a lot about it, and I want to thank President Cooper for continuing this project. Okay? You could have dropped it, but you didn't. Just want to say that. I think the problem, TJ, is we have a good plan, but we're not given the plan properly. We're putting money there, and there's questions. Whenever you put money and you don't see the entire plan, how it might be paid for in the future, who might come, how much rent might be paid, how much we owe, what type of buildings do we have? That's the plan that I believe this council would really like to see. You do a great job. And if you don't do this, I sure hope the administration doesn't let you go, okay? But the bottom line is, I believe that what you all should consider, is a better word, is after this meeting, to get together and put a comprehensive plan together. And things that may not be 100%, say that. Do not be afraid to say it. Put it out there. And if it takes longer than a month, and I understand what you're saying, Mr. Smith, about the time sensitive, but if it takes longer than a month, I really believe this council will get behind it if we know and we see it all at one time. That's what I believe the problem is sitting in this chair. Because I support the project, but I have a problem. Mr. Dean, he comes from that field. It's like me with ships, you know, if there was something with a ship, you know, they'd look at me. I respect everything he's saying, but I also respect what the administration and other members up here said, especially Mr. Smith. But I firmly believe that if we have this picture and it's shared with us prior to the council meeting, as Mr. Stefanczyk said, so we can vote on it, I believe you're going to get a lot of votes and do this, and we'd all feel better. So the good news is it's going to be moved to next month. But as I think Mr. Stefanczyk said, if you're not ready, don't rush it. We'll do it the next month. But let's do it properly and see what we have. That's all I'm asking. And I'm going to shut up and listen. But here enough, we don't have to vote on it. That's it. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go to resolutions. Resolution number 1. I'm sorry, man? Oh, I got it. 33. Oh, I'm sorry. I scratched it out. Number 33. Ordinance calendar number 6520. Oh, 32. Okay. Got it. Ordinance calendar number 6519, ordinance to amend the St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinance for reorganization of the parish departments. That was introduced. Mr. Cooper, do you want to move forward on this one? I mean, do you want to say anything on this one, sir? Okay.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Parish Council, I ask that we introduce the reorg plan that has been amended, and based on some of the comments that we've had from you all, this is the new version of the reorg plan.
Yes, sir, and we have one more amendment, as you know, to add on to number 18 that we talked about. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to read it, and then we can vote on it, introduce it. The Department of Engineering, under the Director of the Parish Engineer, shall include, but is not limited to, the oversight and administration of major road, drainage, and capital projects, and we're going to add words, except capital district projects. Then it'll say, said duties shall include but not limited to any and all actions necessary to carry out the functions of the Department of Engineering and/or parish engineer as provided in this code. Subdivision ordinance is set forth in Chapter 125 and any applicable regulations. Said duties shall also include the ability of the parish engineer to designate additional engineers to act in place of the parish engineer for the administration of parish engineer duties as provided by this paragraph. The parish engineer and/or his/her designee shall be at times of his/her appointment a professional engineer licensed by Louisiana Professional Engineers and Land Survey Board and shall have been discharged in the practice of engineering for a period of 5 years. So the bottom line is we added 4 words, except district capital projects. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Dean, second by Mr. Talidano. Thank you.
Mr. Lorino, before we go to resolutions, may I ask a question?
You can.
Can anybody in the administration, praise the Lord, help Rick and get our system working again? I know these gentlemen are seated down here, so it might require some temporary wiring to get these monitors in place. Can we get this operation work again? I think it's been 4 or 5, 6 months. I've been sitting here and it says Talidano verbal votes only. Well, I say yes, and they don't hear you. I raise my hand, they say, wait, you got to vote verbally. Can we get this sucker fixed? It's been 5 months.
Right,
if we got to move a wire over to these guys, move a doggone wire, but let's get the damn thing fixed.
Racket, it's been fixed. We just had it turned off because we couldn't fit everybody up here at the time. But if you want to try to have it redesigned and put down there, we can.
My point is this, we might be in COVIDing for the rest of our term of office. So if we have to run a wire for these nice 4 fine people down here, let's get the doggone thing working. We paid thousands of dollars for this thing. Once we got used to it, and I was probably the dumbest one of all, it works great. We ought to use the thing.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir. And you forgot Mr. Fitzgerald and Miss Casabon behind you there. Get them also, okay? Thank you. No, I know that. I know that. I don't know. Yeah, I know. Okay, resolutions. Resolution CS number C-6335, resolution to override the Planning Commission denial at the special rescheduled April 14, 2020 meeting held on June 9, 2020 to enter the parish right away, specifically the unopened portion of Partridge Street, south of Sparrow Street, east of Egret Street, Dove Park subdivision, for the purpose of gaining access to the property. Ward 4 and District 5. That's you, Mr. Talidano, and we have a couple of cards for this. I can go to them. Record, I can go to them and call them up.
By all means, by all means.
Okay. Ms. Lowe?
Joycelyn Lowe, 150 Glendale Heights, Mandeville. I've been in communication with Mr. Talidano and Mr. Cooper regarding study of the area from I-12 to Sharp Road, 59 to 190, which encompasses, and this piece of property is in center of this. The study there's also, there's a moratorium, I understand, is going to be going in place, hopefully by December, and a study is being done in this area. There are drainage and sewage problems within the Dove Park subdivision and have been a problem for years. And until that burden of flooding yards is resolved, this project should not go forward. Drainage and traffic issues in the entire area, especially as y'all have heard me talk about the ring of water, which is Sharp to Dove, it has been a growing problem. The study, I understand, per Mr. Cooper, will include utilities, land use, densities, transportation, I'm assuming that means roads and so forth, and drainage. The Planning Commission denied this. The residents of Dove Park and the area are not in favor of this, they're against this. Nearby Cotton Creek, which this council rejected just a couple of weeks ago, is in that same area. And on October 28th, you can hear the appeal of Dove Park Ridge, and there are 40 appeals, or nearly 40 appeals, I understand, on, against that subdivision. I ask you to respect the residents of the area and the Planning Commission. Deny the opening of the road, of Partridge, whatever you want to call it, until after the study in the area is done, the moratorium is lifted, etc. This issue can be revisited. I'm not saying that you shouldn't open it, but with the problems in that area and then the increased problems in the general area, nothing should be developed in this area until such time as that study is complete and we can move forward in a better area and not have to worry about flooding. Thank you.
Eric Pitts, Mr. Pitts. Good evening. Yes, sir.
Entering the right way in Park Street, I actually live in Park Street. The flooding issues on Partridge, and especially in this area, where they're talking about building the road through, the issues with drainage are all well documented.
Okay, all right.
Personally,
Let me
I
listen to this.
installed a sump pump in my front yard to keep all the water out of my backyard that comes down the ditch and into my backyard. I have a dam with sump pump there. I run them regularly, even when it's not been raining heavily, just to try and keep some of the water out of my backyard. So the area that they're talking about building, again, I live at the end of the street, the area that they're talking about building in, we talked about this a little bit last time. It's like, well, maybe it's a wetland area, and possibly it's a critical drainage. It is a critical drainage area. You can look on any, in the St. Tammany Parish website, you guys look at this stuff all day. It says it, little letters, critical drainage area. So it's not something to be taken lightly. It's not something to be just built upon haphazardly. There's a reason there's a street not there to begin with. The people that want to build in this area will say, well, we have a right to get to our property. Well, you can access your property, you can get there. It is possible. There's no road there. So you guys voted on this last time after the zoning commission, denied. You guys passed it. Chairman, you were the only one to vote with the residents that live in this area on the appeal. And there was also mentioned, I believe it was from Ms. O'Brien, there was some fear of litigation from the builders who were just trying to access their property. They purchased this land when it was land, but they purchased it as is. They didn't buy it through the street and all of a sudden they can't get there. They bought it like this. You guys have studies that you're doing, you're talking about putting in retention ponds. Do these things before you go in the critical drainage areas. That's all that I'm asking here. Litigation from an outsider, a builder. I think the worst thing is the district underwater. That's when you're really going to have to worry about things. And I see my time is up. And I guess that's all.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you. Mr. Talidano?
Well, thank you. I presume that's all the public comments?
That's it. That's why I got you.
I don't know. This gentleman is part of our team, I assume. First, I want to clarify one thing and then ask Mr. Liner a question. For those people who are here, as that gentleman spoke, and the person before him, Ms. Lowe, there is a plan for Dove Park Estates. You might or might not have heard this before, yourself and Ms. Lowe. And that plan has been worked on by the engineering department for some time. And Mr. Watson, I don't see him momentarily in the audience, but we are in the process of moving forward with that plan. And that plan is to capture water in Dove Park Estates in two directions, one flowing to Dove Park Road, the other flowing to the rear, wrapping around the rear of the subdivision, coming back across Dove Park Road and out to Little Creek. So there is the plan that's in process, and we might be just about ready to advertise on that. Is Mr. Watson here? And I just don't see him. He could be more exact. So please, if I made a mistake on the time limit, I apologize, but I think it's closer to correct than not. The second thing is, I've been reminded that this was a correcting procedural device, the resolution. Let me digress for a second. Jay, would you remind us of the timetable for the improvements to Dove Park Estates?
The improvements for
the wraparound drainage that we.
Yes, the capital improvement project that we have has been designed and should be advertising maybe next week, maybe the week after, but it should be advertising very soon. I believe it'll advertise for a month. Once that closes, then we should be able to start moving forward with a contractor.
Good. And the money's available for that project and everything, correct?
Yes, sir. Construction's budgeted.
So hopefully that benefits Ms. Lowe, and I believe it was Mr. Pitts who spoke. The next thing is, the question was raised by the gentleman while you were out of the room. Is it a critical drainage area?
It's an area of special concern, and we should be able to remove it from an area of special concern once this project's constructed.
So it's your belief that this project that you just spoke about will take that out of the realm of something that would cause, as he made a point well made, you missed it, but regarding the drainage issues there, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right.
This project, the area was noted that had problems with drainage. That's why it was put into an area of special concern.
Right.
And we have a capital project to address this area of special concern and be able to remove it from it. It will not be an area of special concern once this project's complete.
And from your standpoint of being familiar with that area and the issues that you just spoke about, do you see any problem that would be a negative impact to drainage in that area by opening this street? Do you foresee any problem with that?
I don't, no.
Okay. All right. Now, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, if Ms. Carlin could explain the record of why this comes back to us tonight, because again, it was my belief that we had addressed this before, but Carlin, could you explain the procedural posture we're in? Don't go too far away.
Yeah, Katrina, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that we accidentally did an ordinance and we need a resolution. So that's the only reason it's back on the agenda.
Yeah.
We don't usually get these kinds, so we just, we accidentally did an ordinance. So all we need is a resolution from y'all. You already voted and did the appeal last month.
Yeah. So, Mr. Reno, based upon the fact that, one, this is a corrective action by the council, two, because of the comments by Mr. Watson that the opening of that street would not pose an imposition to gentlemen such as the nice individual who spoke here who lives in that area, and for that matter, Ms. Lowe's comments, I believe it's appropriate to do what we had already done, but in resolution form, saying to these people that if someone chooses to go permit this, number one is they might be tough out of luck because the moratorium might very well be in effect at that time. That's number one. But number two is, if they do, they will be subject to whatever requirements Mr. Watson's office and the permitting department puts on this property to assure that there's no impact to people like yourself. And three, which is actually four, pardon me, the fact that this drainage improvement, major drainage improvement to our subdivision here in Dove Park Estates is basically right around the corner. I would move for the adoption of that resolution.
Okay, motion by Mr. Talidano, second by Mr. Canulet. Thank you.
We need a vote.
All in favor? Any opposed?
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Thank you. Number 4, Resolution CS number C-6338, a resolution indicating the intention of the parish of St. Tammany to proceed with the issuance Louisiana Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority revenue bonds, St. Tammany Parish, Go Mesa project, authorizing the appointment of professionals, authorizing an application to the State Bond Commission, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. I have a motion. Mr. Airy? Motion by Mr. Airy, second by Mr. Mike Smith. Thank you. All in favor?
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Thank you. Number 5, Resolution CS number C-6339, resolution indicating the intention of the Parish of St. Tammany to become participating political subdivision in Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority, the authority approving the appointment of director to represent the parish, the Board of Directors authority, and otherwise providing with respect thereto of, as provided by Chapter 10-9 of Title 33 of the Louisiana Revised Statute of 1950 as amended. A motion. Motion by Mr. Jimmy Davis, second by Ms. Tanner. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Thank you. Number 6, Resolution CS number C-6340, resolution giving preliminary approval to the issuance of taxable sales tax refunding bonds in one or more series of the sales tax district number 3 of the St. Tammany Parish, making applications to the State Bond Commission for approval of said bonds and providing for the matters in connection therewith. I have a motion. Motion by Mr. Stefanczyk, second by Ms. Kazavar. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 2 absent.
Thank you, ma'am. Resolution CS number 6341, resolution approving the issuance of limited tax certificates of indebtedness to Fire District Protection District number 9 of the Parish of St. Tammany Parish. Motion by Ms. Tanner, second by Mr. Jimmy Davis. Please vote. Thank you. Any opposed? Seeing none.
The motion is unanimous with 2 absent.
Thank you. As I stated earlier, there'll be no appeals. We'll go to ordinance for adoption. Number 1, ordinance calendar number 6307, ordinance to amend the parish code relative to purchasing procedures. Mr. Stefanczyk.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to just bring everybody up to speed on where we are, and then I have a amendment I wish to make. In January this year, we were asked to postpone the ordinance that was before you earlier. We felt like with the new parish president coming on that we would give him a chance to look at it and see, and he asked again in April for postpone it, and that was for 6 months. And we agreed to that. And then 6 months is now up, and we have tried to resolve the issues before we go to the vote, and we met yesterday, Mr. Chairman, you and I, and the CAO and the Department of Purchasing met yesterday and discussed issues that we think need to be addressed. I asked for to be able to sit down and talk with the president or have him give me a call, and he did yesterday afternoon. I would tell you that neither the meeting we had nor the telephone call was as productive as I would like to have seen it. I have agreed, I talked in the meeting, and I agreed to postpone the thing for up to 3 months to see if we can gain progress or maybe get to resolve all the differences we have that we have with the parish president on this. If no progress is made, I will bring the ordinance back up at the end of the postponement that I'm going to ask for tonight. On the agenda, I have an amendment, and I want to read the amendment to you. You should all have a new copy of that amendment in your box. Now I'm sitting here looking for my front page. The amendment starts out by Section 2-24, Purchasing Procedures, number 1 says, the parish president shall review and approve requisitions that meet standard state law for advertising for bids, not to exceed $20,000. Those exceeding $20,000 must be approved of the parish council unless specifically identified in capital outlay budget approved by the council. I want to add right from there, I want to add one sentence that says, all road materials used in the construction of district council road projects shall be regulated by parish government authority, including the parish president and the parish administration. That's the first part of the amendment. The second part of the amendment starts on underneath the next section down to, it's titled Selection of Vendors for Professional Services Contracts. That's the little b. And in paragraph 2 of that, it says the director of the awarding department, and then I want to add in there, in consulting with the designee appointed by the parish council, shall select 3 vendors from the professional service list based on the qualifications and guidelines as identified in Section 2-125E needed for the specific project. And then it goes on to finish out. And then finally, the fourth line there, I want to put in, upon receipt and review of the RFPs by an evaluation committee, which shall include a designee appointed by the parish council, and that's the amendment that I want to put in. The rest of it says the director, it takes from there, it's approved by the parish council, the director shall present his recommendations to the award of the professional services contract to the CAO. Those are 3 different places in that ordinance that we have asked for a change, and I would like to move to amend the ordinance. At this stage, I would like to move to amend the ordinance to include the things that I've just read.
Okay. Mrs. Stefancic has a motion to amend the ordinance as he read. Is there a second? Ms. Casabon, second? Okay. Please vote. Thank you.
The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
And then, Mr. Chairman, I would move to postpone. I'm sorry, I want to move to reintroduce.
And we need a motion to reintroduce as
Yes.
amended. A
Yes.
motion by Mrs. Stefanczyk, second by Ms. O'Brien. Motion be introduced as amended, okay?
And then finally, I would move to postpone for 3 months.
Okay. Ms. O'Brien, second the motion to postpone for 3 months.
Need a vote.
All in favor? Thank you.
The
Okay.
motion is unanimous with one absent.
So, Mrs. Stefanczyk, it's amended and introduced, and I know you'll work with the administration to try to work on this, or change it again. We could always change anything that's in there, but work on it and try to get it squared away. And if I can help in any way, please let me know.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I am going to ask other members of the council to sit in on those meetings.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just don't get above 8. All righty, number 3, it says, okay. Number 3, ordinance calendar number 6454, ordinance to extend the 6-month moratorium in property having access to and/or fronting on Brewster Road, Ward 1, District 1. Mr. Dean?
Point, because a lot of people think that it's this huge thing of moratorium. It just has to do with commercial property being accessed on Brewster.
Okay, sir.
Just commercial.
Okay.
So moved.
I'm sorry, Dan. Okay, it screwed me. I'm sorry, Mr. Dean. So you made the motion?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. T.J. Smith, second. Please vote. Yes, well, it is, but we have 3 by it, okay? It shows number 3 on mine.
Mine says 2.
Okay, just on mine, it shows number 3. Okay, that's ordinance number 6454. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, thank you.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Okay, I'm gonna go to ordinance calendar number 6. I'm gonna leave the numbers out. Ordinance calendar number 6455. Ordinance to amend the parish code relative to fishing/diving prohibited to provide for revisions. That'll be I need a motion and a second. Motion by Mr. Talidano, second by Mr. Jimmy Davis. Thank you. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Thank you, ma'am. Ordinance calendar number 6456, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 65.836 acres of land to a PUD, Plan Unit Development Overlay, Ward 8, District 9. Mr. Mike Smith? Motion by Mr. Mike Smith to move, second by Mr. Jake Airy. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Thank you. Ordinance calendar number 6457, ordinance to amending the official zoning to reclassify 4 acres of land from A-1 Suburban District RO Rural Overlay and MHO Manufactured Housing Overlay to an A-2 Suburban District RO Overlay and MHO Manufactured Housing Overlay, Ward 2, District 3. Ms. Casabon? Motion by Ms. Casabon, second by Mr. Chris Canulet. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 6458, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 4.011 acres of land from A-2 Suburban District to A-2 Suburban District and MHO Manufactured Housing Overlay, Ward 10, District 6. Ms. Tanner? Motion by Ms. Tanner, second by Mr. Jimmy Davis. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Thank you. Number 8, ordinance calendar number 6459, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 1 acre of land from A-1 Suburban District to A-2 Suburban District, Ward 1, District 2. Mr. Fitzgerald.
So moved on behalf of Mr. Casbon.
Okay, motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Ms. Casbon. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Okay. All right, good. I got 2 8s now. I might have caught up with it, huh?
No.
Okay. Ordinance calendar, this might be the real number 8. Ordinance calendar number 6460, ordinance amending the official zoning map to 6.9962 acres of land from I-4 Heavy Industrial District to an HC-3 Highway Commercial District, Ward 9, District 13. Mr. Airy, wait, there is a motion by Mr. Airy, second by Mr. Jimmy Davis. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Thank you. Number 9, ordinance calendar number 6461, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify .93 acres of land from C-4 Neighborhood Industrial District to an A-A-5 two-family residential, Ward 2, District 2. Mr. Fitzgerald.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. Dean. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Thank you. Number 10, ordinance calendar number 6462, ordinance to revote an unopened portion of east-west roads, Covington, Louisiana, Ward 1, District 1. Mr. Dean.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Dean, second by Mr. T.J. Smith. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 11, ordinance calendar number 6463, ordinance to officially change the name of the parish right-of-way from Rogers Extension Drive to Detney Crawford, District 9. Mr. Mike Smith. Motion by Mr. Mike Smith, second by Mr. Chris Canulet. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 12, ordinance calendar number 6464, ordinance to officially name a 30-foot right-of-way from Gravel Drive to Happy Hollow Road, District 6. Ms. Tanner. Motion by Ms. Tanner, second by Mr. Jimmy Davis. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 13, ordinance calendar number 6465, ordinance to declare multiple tax adjudicated properties as surplus property and to proceed with the sale of such properties. Motion by Mr. Talidano, second by Mr. Dean. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Thank you. Number 14, ordinance calendar number 6466, ordinance to correct the road and drainage inventory to include a portion of State Highway 1077, Ward 2, District 3. Ms. Casbon. Motion by Ms. Casbon, second by Mr. Canulet. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 15, ordinance calendar number 6467, an ordinance to correct the road and drainage inventory to include East Coop Drive, Ward 4, District 5. Mr. Talidano.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Talidano, second by Mr. Dean. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 6, ordinance calendar number 6468, an ordinance to correct the road and drainage inventory to include River Chase Drive, Ward 1, District 1. Mr. Dean.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Dean, second by Mr. Talidano. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
17, ordinance calendar number 6469, an ordinance accepting finalized subdivision into the roads and drainage inventory, Ward 8, District 9. Mr. Mike Smith. Motion by Mr. Mike Smith, second by Mr. Davis. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
18, ordinance calendar number 6470, ordinance establishing a no parking zone on Ferner Road, Ward 9, District 11. Mr. Stefancic. Motion by Mr. Stefancic, second by Mr. Mike Smith. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 19, ordinance calendar number 6471, orders to amend the 2020 operating budget, amendment number 12. Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. Talidano. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 20, ordinance calendar number 6472, ordinance to amend the 2020 capital grants budget, number 8. Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Ms. O'Brien. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 6473, ordinance to amend the 2020 capital improvement budget and capital assets. Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. Stefanczyk. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
22, ordinance calendar number 6474, ordinance to amend the 2020 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 24. Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. Dean. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 23, ordinance calendar number 6475, ordinance to amend the 2020 capital improvement assets budget number 25. Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Ms. O'Brien. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 24, ordinance calendar number 6476, ordinance to amend the 2020 capital improvement budget and capital assets. Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. Talidano. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 25, ordinance calendar number 6477, ordinance to amend the 2020 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 27. Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. Airy. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 26, ordinance calendar number 6478, ordinance to amend the 2020 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 28. Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. Bender. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 27, ordinance calendar number 6479, ordinance to amend the 2020 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 29. Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. Canulet. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 28, ordinance calendar number 6480, ordinance to amend the 2020 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 30. Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Ms. Tanner. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Thank you, ma'am. Number 29, ordinance calendar number 6481, ordinance to amend ordinance CS number 01-0303 regarding a major amendment to the PUD Plan Unit Development Overlay, Ward 4, District 5 and 7. Mr. Talidano? Motion by Mr. Talidano, second by Mr. Jimmy Davis. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 30, ordinance calendar number 6482, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 2 acres of land from A-1A Suburban District, MHO Manufactured Housing Overlay, and RO Rural Overlay to an A-2 Suburban District, MHO Manufactured Housing, and RO Rural Overlay, Ward 2, District 2. Mr. Fitzgerald? Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. T.J. Smith. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 31, ordinance calendar number 6483, ordinance to officially name 20-foot right-of-way private road, Bow Lock Lane, District 4. Okay. Motion by Mr. Bender, second by Mr. Stefanczyk. Please vote. Go ahead.
I do understand why we want to name roads and generally why we should, but I don't understand why the parish is getting involved in naming roads and see if those roads' names are somewhere else throughout the parish. That's the job of 911, and I think they should be doing
It should be 911, yes.
And what we're doing is we're doing their
Yeah,
job
right,
for them and supporting them, and I don't think we should be doing this.
I totally agree. It should be 911. yeah.
Taking on extra workload,
Yeah.
I think we need to turn it down and send it
Wasn't
back
it,
to.
wasn't it 911 last time? It should have been. Right, oh, it was 911 last time, yes. Correct, correct. Wasn't it 911 last time, Ross? Please come up and, thank you, sir. Go ahead. They're going to let you talk to us. Go
So
ahead,
the
sir.
issue is it's within one of the ordinances, and maybe Carl and Emily can back me up just if I'm saying anything incorrect, but it's in an ordinance that states that it has to be adopted by the council, and what it was doing, it was holding up building permits, but yeah, it should be the job of 911, and it should not hold up permits within St. Tammany Parish. And so we're working with 911 right now to correct it, and we'll be coming forth with a text amendment if y'all would consider it.
Yeah. Would you please go on the mic for me there, Jake, please?
Yes, I talked with Ms. Hayes about that because, Marty and I are on the 911 board for the council.
Yes, sir.
And there is a statute that seems to indicate that the parish has to name these. It says governing authority, and she's has an amendment that she's drafted. She's going to run it by legal to take us out of that business and just have 911 do it, because the issue is apparently when you have a parish road and maybe a house that's set a couple acres off the road, the 911 can't maybe see it when they're driving by, so they want a name basically on somebody's driveway so they can pinpoint where they're supposed to be going. But that's not our issue, that's a 911 issue, so they really, we don't have any, really dog in the hunt necessarily on this, so I think it's a good amendment that we can introduce and, at the next council meeting and take us out of this,
Okay.
this naming
So
thing.
what you're saying is, if I'm correct, Jake, that we can do it now? We can do it now, and then you have an amendment to take us out of it? Is that what I'm hearing?
I would defer to legal counsel, but my understanding of the ordinance, it says that we have to approve these private
Okay.
names on the roads,
Okay.
even though I'm not exactly sure why, but that's
Okay.
apparently the way that the ordinance is being interpreted, to say that we have to do it. 911 gets the first crack at it to make sure that it's not a name that's already been used or could cause confusion, but then we have to approve what 911 has done.
Okay.
So that's why we're having to adopt these.
That's why the council's doing this right now.
Correct.
Miss Emily, is that correct, ma'am? Okay, so we are all right by doing this and then 911, but then we're going to change it at a later date. Okay, all right. Steve, I don't know if that answered your question, buddy, but
It answered my question.
Okay, so we'll.
Not to my satisfaction, but it answered my question.
Okay. Okay, so we had all in favor. I think we voted all in favor of it. Thank you. But you're against it? Okay, thank you. One against.
The motion passes with 13 yeas and 1 nay.
Okay. Number 31, ordinance calendar number 6483, ordinance to officially name a 20-foot right-of-way, private road, Bowlock Lane. That's the one I just read, I'm sorry. Number 32, I don't want to get Steve to vote no again. Number 32, ordinance calendar number 6484, officially name a parish right-of-way, S. Ashna Boulevard, District 1. Mr. Dean? Motion by Mr. Dean, second by Mr. T.J. Smith. All in favor? All right,
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
thank you. Number 33, ordinance calendar number 6485, ordinance to officially name a private Roman Road, District 2. Mr. Fitzgerald? You can do whatever you need, sir.
Where's that mic?
Jimmy.
I worked with this guy.
But you're not
30
getting
seconds.
heard.
I worked with this guy pretty extensively. He did go through 911, but to our point here, he had to run it back through the
Council.
parish. And it was holding up
Thank
the
you.
building permit.
Gotcha.
Yeah, something needs to be done about it.
Yes, sir. And I think they're taking care of that part.
So moved.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. T.J. Smith. Please vote. Any opposed? One opposed?
The motion passes with 13 yeas and 1 nay.
Thank you. Okay, we already did the discussion matter. Let's go to items off the floor. I have a motion and a second to open off the floor agenda. Motion by Mr. Talidano, second by Ms. O'Brien. All in favor to open the calendar?
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Thank you. Resolution to vacate in part, number one, resolution in part, the 6-month moratorium on property within a defined area within St. Tammany Parish, Council District 14. Mr. T.J. Smith. We have a motion by Mr. Smith, second by, excuse me, Mr. Dean. Seeing no one, please vote.
I believe the motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Thank you, ma'am. Number two, resolution to appoint Colin Riles as Assistant Council Administrator. Is there a motion? Motion by Ms. O'Brien, second by Ms. Casabine. Please vote. You have to be nice, son. Yes, Mr. Talidano.
Right eye is still failing you. Mr. Dean wanted to discuss that.
What's that, man?
Can I just have a point of privilege on that last item?
Tell me what I need.
I know this is the last item of the night, and everyone's ready to go home. I just couldn't let the moment pass by, and I hadn't prepared any remarks.
Yes, ma'am.
And I knew this was coming tonight. It's still a little tough because Carlin has been such a huge asset to the DA's office since Carrie and I came over in 2018. It'll be hard to lose her, but luckily she won't be moving too far away, and I know that we'll continue to work cooperatively for the benefit of all of those in parish government. So I'm a little emotional right now to see my friend move on to a new role, but I know she's going to excel, and I know she's going to serve all of you very well in that role. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, ma'am. That's very, very kind.
Thank you.
Okay, that passed. Seeing nothing, I have a motion by Mr. Jimmy Davis, second by Ms. Tanner to adjourn. Gina.